Hi guys and welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I just want to talk about 5 mounts from the War Within that I would really recommend you to try and farm right now before the release of the next patch and also before the release of the next expansion, because all these different mounts right now are pretty easy to farm, and after that, sadly, they will become way more difficult. Here, I want to insist on the fact that these mounts are not going to become unobtainable, but again, they will simply be just a little bit more annoying and time consuming in order for you to farm them. Okay, so let's start first with the different mounts that you can get from the 2 raids so far from the War Within. And here you have 4 different mounts in total. So from the Neruber Palace, you will have 2 mounts that will drop from the last boss, Queen and Sureki. And these mounts are the Reins of the Sureki Skyrazor. This one will drop in any difficulty. It will just be a very rare drop. And then you have this one right here, which is a guaranteed drop, but this one will only drop when you kill Queen and Sureki in mythic difficulty. So the reason why these mounts are right now way easier to farm than in Midnight or in the future expansions is first of all the fact that the mythic mount is a guaranteed drop, when at the end of the expansion it will become a very rare drop as well. So if you manage to kill Queen and Sureki a few times in mythic difficulty, hopefully you will be able to get this mount before the release of the next expansion. And then when it comes to this one right here, right now, if you're not someone who is doing a lot of raiding and you don't want to do the entire raid each time to kill Queen and Sureki, you can do it in LFR difficulty. As you can see, they will still have a chance at dropping. And right now, it's actually pretty simple. You just want to go right here in Raid Finder, go in a Queen's Pal, and you will be able to join the queue. And then you just need to kill the Silken Court and then Queen and Sureki. And like that, on all your different characters that can do these LFR parts of the raid, you will be able to have a chance at getting the mount. So sadly, this is something that won't be available in Midnight and in the future expansions, or at least it won't be as easy and you won't be able to solo it. And also, doing the raid after the end of this expansion is going to be a little bit difficult, at least for 1 or 2 more expansions. And after that, of course, you will be able to do it pretty easily and solo it even. But if you want to get it before, again, the next few years, I would say right now is a really good time for you to do it in LFR difficulty. And of course, the same thing applies to the 2 mounts from the Liberation of Undermine raid. So here in Mythic difficulty from Chrome King Gallywix, you will be able to get the keys to the Big G, which is this really cool mount right here. Again, right now, this is a guaranteed drop, and normally it will remain a guaranteed drop until the end of the expansion in Mythic difficulty. So if you manage to kill Gallywix in Mythic difficulty a few times, again, hopefully you will be able at some point be lucky enough to get the mount. And then you also have this one right here, the Prototype A.S.M.R, which is the very rare drop that can drop from any difficulties. And so here again, I would recommend you to do Gallywix in LFR difficulty on all your different characters. Now, next to these different raid mounts, another one that you can actually work on a little more actively is the Darkfuse Demolisher mount. So this mount is linked to the Darkfuse Solutions cartel reputations in the Undermine zone. And here, basically, you will need to reach Revered in order to get the mount, and you will then be able to buy it with 11,000 of the different resonance crystals. And the reason why I'm adding it to this list is simply because right now you have tons of different groups that are farming the reputation for the Darkfuse solutions. And so if you want to do it in an efficient way, you definitely want to join one of these groups and farm the reputation that way. Again, this is sadly something that probably won't be really easy to do after the end of the patch and after the end of the expansion, simply because not a lot of players will be doing that anymore. You will probably still have a few groups here and there, and you can always create your own group. But right now, there are so many groups available. So if you want to farm this reputation, right now, again, is a really good time to do so. Basically here, it's pretty straightforward. You will need to kill a bunch of mobs, and you want to go in this specific part of the map right here. And these different mobs will drop these different market research, and with 100 of them, you can buy this box of Darkfuse Miscellany. And as you can see, with this box, you can then use it and you will receive 500 of the Darkfuse solutions reputation. So here, what I would recommend you to do is again, join these different groups, and then you want to buy some of the potions here and also this item from Siege Lowdown, who is the quartermaster and is located right here. You just want to go inside of the underground. And the reason why is because, as you can see, when you are using these two things, you will be able to get more of this different market research when killing all the different mobs. And so that's really the fastest way right now to get these mounts. And again, this is still something you will be able to do it later on. And you can also farm it solo by doing other type of things, such as, for instance, all the different scrapping activities. But this is really the fastest way to do it in a group by killing a lot of mobs. And right now, there are tons of these groups available. And here, there's not just the mount that is interesting, there's also this toy, the Atomic Regulator, and especially there is the Darkfuse Lowdown coat, which is this really cool transmog item. So that's another thing that you should definitely try to get while it's still easy. And finally, the last few mounts that I will also mention, but again, here, I don't think it's going to be too intense of a change. And these are the different mounts that are linked to the new renown system for the new raid. So here, the reason why I'm adding them to this list is simply because in order to get these mounts, you just need to kill all the different bosses and to get the reputation from the bosses. And right now, you can do that by doing the entire raid in LFR difficulty. So again, if you're someone who is not a big fan of these different PvE activities and you just want the rewards, then you can just queue up, do this pretty easily. And after a few times, you will be able to get enough renown in order to buy these different mounts. And sadly, at the end of the expansion, again, LFR won't be available with this raid. And so you will need to actually farm this renown by doing it in normal, heroic, or mythic difficulty. And I'm pretty sure they're still going to have plenty of groups doing it, even in Midnight and in the future expansions, because people will still be working towards these different mounts and towards the renown. But again, it will require you to actually find a group and do all these things, when here you can just click on queue up in the LFR search and then just join the raid and do it. Again, it might even be easier in the future because we will have better gear and it will be easier to maybe kill these different bosses, but it's just something that I also wanted to mention briefly right here and that I think is still pretty easy to do right now with LFR. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I will be back very soon with more guys and more videos, and in the meantime, I wish you all a great day. Bye!